I think those are some very crucial points, Molly, and it's interesting to watch the body language of the two leaders. Donald Trump, he's had a long flight flying from Washington to Beijing, so he does appear a little tired, and it is not the usual Trump, not the swagger that we are used to seeing Donald Trump have about him as he goes around meeting the world leaders. And this, of course, is a difficult moment for the American leader who'd been talking about making America great, who had said that he does not want America to be embroiled in these forever foreign wars. But he's done exactly the opposite of what he'd been saying all along. There is a war that he started in the Middle East, the Iran war, and he seems stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. And the Hormuz issue has now become one of those issues where Donald Trump simply seems to be out of options as to how to proceed further. And what is interesting in this dynamic is that the American president is not coming in as a leader of the sole superpower. Even if America is numero uno in terms of power, it is interesting that Trump feels that he may have to rely on Xi Jinping to help him get out of this problem that he's got in the Strait of Hormuz. So in this case, it is the superpower asking its rival to try and help it out in sorting out what has happened at the Strait of Hormuz. Do you think the Chinese at this moment have an incentive in helping the Americans out here?
You know, Saleh, I want to point to our viewers one very crucial aspect of that statement, which also tells us the kind of sentiment that, of course, has played out in the public domain for everyone to see, but it's also something that the Chinese leader, in a way, is tapping into. You know, that statement where he says that the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and make America great again can go hand in hand. That's a very significant statement coming at a crucial time like this. Also, when he talks about the relationship between the two sides being the most important in the world, yes, that is a fact in terms of a number of aspects because of the implications that the two leaders' decisions really have. But for him to be actually saying that, Donald Trump, of course, using the kind of words and the language that is his trademark style, also stressing on the potential of the relationship. But having said that, we've seen how the Iran war is something that Donald Trump time and again has said is going to end soon. But we've seen the kind of back and forth that's come in from the U.S. president when it comes to that, So the economic pressure that the Donald Trump administration has been trying to exert on Iran hasn't quite worked out, right? Because look at the way in which the Israeli leader also, for example, spoke about how Hormuz is something that was not anticipated to be used as a leverage. But at the same time, it was the number one thing that was speculated will happen once the U.S.-Israeli strikes started. Right, because the world knew that Iran has the Hormuz leverage that it can use to its advantage if the need arises, which is exactly what happened because it's something that was a part of the widespread speculation even before the war started in terms of what Iran has up its sleeve. So the kind of ramifications that the Hormuz blockade has right now for Donald Trump as well, it's more important for him to kind of see whether or not China is on board in terms of actually helping the U.S. on that front. But then, of course, that also comes with the rider that China would expect that cooperation to also yield benefits in terms of that sphere and beyond that as well. So two things that will be important. One will be the statements that will be coming out from here onwards, but also what messaging the two sides will be putting out through their own through their own administrations, because even when we're looking at this meeting taking place and we're looking at the messaging that's coming in from the two leaders, soon after the talk started as well, Beijing released comments by Xi Jinping repeating warnings of potential conflict with the U.S. over Taiwan, for example. So there is going to be a lot of emphasis on what the two sides will be releasing in terms of their statements and their messaging beyond these talks as well.